Coming up, Tzu Chi's fabrication of prefabricated homes for Haiyan victims come to a completion. We learn more about the southern forests of Taiwan and why they should be protected. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen now. Thank you for joining us. After 6 months of hard work, Tzu Chi volunteers in Taiwan have finally wrapped up their project in Sanxia to assemble parts for the prefabricated units going to the Philippines for Typhoon Haiyan survivors. Close to 40,000 Northern District volunteers were involved in the project and completed the components for a total of 2,000 prefabricated homes.
The blue ones must be lined up together and the yellow ones together. They must all be facing the same direction. Make sure they are neatly arranged, all right?
Even though it is the final day of the prefab housing project, volunteers don't let the quality slack off.
We have learned through doing over the past 6 months. Everyone carried out the work with a joyous heart. Hence, this project was a huge success. Some of the manufacturers are not even Tzu Chi members, but when they heard about our project, they were very willing to help. They were very supportive and even gave us the best price. The power of love is truly very moving.
Since the start of the project to assemble parts for the prefab housing for the Philippines 6 months ago, close to 40,000 Northern District volunteers have been mobilized to assist. Even those living as far away as Taoyuan made a concerted effort to help out on a daily basis. Even those living as far away as Taoyuan made a concerted effort to help out on a daily basis.
I upheld the Tzu Chi spirit by being the first to arrive and the last to leave.
We were notified this morning that not that many sisters were required to come today since most of the work was laborious and required a lot of heavy lifting. But it's okay. In Tzu Chi, women are supposed to work as hard as the men.
Everyone works very efficiently and just like one family. We all help each other out.
From day one right up to the last day, volunteers not only devoted their efforts on the assembly of the building components, but were mindful of the environment as well.
These are all made from recycled logs that we pieced together. By doing so, we can extend their lease on life.
The project was initially set to be complete by the end of November, but because of the volunteers' unity and harmony, the project was concluded a month earlier. Working collectively as a team, volunteers have also given Typhoon Haiyan survivors a place to shield them from wind and rain.
After the Philippines was struck by Typhoon Haiyan last year, the Tzu Chi Foundation plans to build a total of 3,000 prefabricated homes in Ormoc, Tacloban, and Palo to house those who lost their homes. In Palo, where 255 of their homes will be built, 12 members of the All Hands Volunteers, a non-profit organization in the U.S., have decided to offer a helping hand to expedite the work.
The assembly of Tzu Chi prefabricated homes continue in Palo, the Philippines. As always, the work begins with good cheer. Several non-Asian-looking faces are among the crew today. They are members of the U.S. nonprofit organization All Hands Volunteers. For the past several months, 12 members of the organization have been aiding the post-earthquake recovery of Bohol Island. Now they are turning their attention to Typhoon Haiyan victims. Despite the language barrier, both Tzu Chi volunteers and U.S. volunteers share the same goal, and thus both sides quickly learn to work with each other. Members of All Hands are impressed with what Tzu Chi has prepared.
I think it's a really neat new type of program. We usually build from cocoa lumber, and the houses take longer to see the final results. So doing it with the prefab materials and the metal and the PP siding, it's really cool that you come in and we'll get to have a house, hopefully 2 houses done by the end of the day.
Tzu Chi plans to erect 255 prefab homes here. To date, only 42 have been completed. There's still quite a lot of work to do, but even the U.S. volunteers have noticed Tzu Chi's thoughtfulness.
It's really innovative. That's what's really nice about this project is it's really refreshing to be on a build site where everything has been thought through. You know, there's a reason why you're not using cement floors, so that's really, really nice to be a part of that. So.
Tzu Chi volunteers just want to make sure they meet the needs of Haiyan victims. And thanks to the addition of the U.S. volunteers, work progress should pick up here.
Continuing their care for the impoverished in the Philippines, Tzu Chi volunteers recently arrived in Caloocan City, Manila to distribute rice from Taiwan to 942 families. One local resident even brought his late father's filled bamboo coin bank to donate.
Among residents queuing at Tzu Chi's rice distribution is pregnant mother Jenilyn Aligno. Volunteers immediately rush over to help her carry the rice to the pedicab. Arriving alongside the bridge, a shed pieced together by a few metal sheets is where Jenilyn and her family of 9 live.
We only have one source of income supporting the entire family. My husband works odd jobs at the construction site and earns an unstable salary. Sometimes we have rice, other times we have to buy food on credit so my 7 children won't go hungry.
Here in Caloocan, poverty lies behind the city's glittering facade. There are many struggling families like Jenilyn who are on the brink of starvation.
It's not our choice to live alongside the river, but my husband makes only 800 pesos a week, and that is barely enough to cover our rent and living expenses. Every time it rains, we have to evacuate.
Initially, I thought my life was difficult, but seeing how others are struggling to make ends meet made me realize that I'm actually blessed and I possess the ability to help others.
Today, volunteers brought bags of love from Taiwan, helping 942 families get through such times of struggle. At the distribution, Arnel donated a full bamboo coin bank on behalf of his late father. He says it was his father's wish to pay the love he received from Tzu Chi forward.
I'm thankful to Tzu Chi for helping my father with 3 cataract surgery in 2011. I will never forget their kindness. If Tzu Chi needs my help in the future, I will try my best to help.
Sometimes love doesn't need to be expressed through words or fancy gestures, as a simple act of kindness is enough to change someone's life forever.
In Malaysia's Tanbin, Tzu Chi volunteers organized a Diwali celebration at the local liaison office where Indian care recipient families immersed themselves in the holiday spirit. During the event, the volunteers also gifted each family a bag filled with goods. But first, let's join the Diwali celebration held at the Tzu Chi Kulai retreat.
We go to shop to buy some decoration things.
This is Pramala, who took part in the Buddha Day ceremonies organized by the Tzu Chi Kulai retreat for the past 2 consecutive years. Knowing that Diwali is an important holiday for Hindus, Tzu Chi volunteers have asked Pramala to lend a helping hand. Besides decorating the venue, kitchen volunteers are also busily churning out delicious vegetarian meals.
My encounter with Tzu Chi has helped me embrace vegetarianism. In the future, I will refrain from eating too much meat and eat more vegetables and fruits.
As Diwali is an important festival for Hindus, Tzu Chi volunteers make sure all their Indian care recipients feel the joy of the holidays. Among the care recipients taking part is Santhi, who arrived at the venue with her physically impaired daughter.
I am here because I want to know who is less fortunate than my family. I also want my children to know that there are still many people who are worse off than us.
Meanwhile, at the Diwali celebration held at the Tzu Chi Tanbin Liaison Office, care recipients realized their blessings after learning of the hardship many go through across the globe.
Tzu Chi Foundation is always there to provide help whenever disaster strikes. The organization also offers medical assistance to the poor and sick.
To help care recipients embrace the joy of Diwali, Tzu Chi volunteers gifted each family with a bag of supplies filled with their blessings and respect.
This year's Diwali celebration is filled with joy. I am extremely happy because everyone here treats each other like their own family. I have also received gifts from Tzu Chi.
At the end of the event, regardless of differences in race and faith, everyone prays together for a year filled with peace and harmony. The village of Duri Kepat in Indonesia's western Jakarta was recently devastated by a boiler explosion and subsequent fires that raged for hours afterwards. To help, local Tzu Chi volunteers held an aid distribution for those displaced by the tragedy.
4 p.m. on October 11th was a date that residents of the village of Duri Kepa in western Jakarta will never forget. It was then that a boiler explosion turned the lives of hundreds upside down.
My entire house is gone. All I have left is the clothes on my back.
At around 5 in the afternoon, I was walking on the bridge and I saw a lot of people. Later, it turned out that my house was burnt down. I had no chance to save anything. There was nothing I could do. The fire raged until 8 p.m. Then at 4 a.m. the next morning, another shop started burning again. We had no way to combat it and had to ask the fire department to come in again.
The two fires destroyed hundreds of homes and livelihoods. Now shabby tents stand where proud homes used to be.
Our situation is really difficult. Now we have no choice but to live in this tent. With so many people, it gets really hot and there are a lot of mosquitoes, and at night it gets very cold.
Hearing of the disaster, local Tzu Chi volunteers immediately set up an emergency response center in one of the village's abandoned buildings.
We brought aid for the victims in the form of bottled water, toothpaste, blanket, shoes, and clothes.
Not only bringing desperately needed supplies, but also words of encouragement and shoulders to cry on, the presence of the volunteers have given villagers a sense of renewed hope.
We are so thankful that there is somebody that is willing to help us. Receiving these items, I feel so much gratitude.
If you are a conservation activist in Taiwan, you might have heard of the talk of forming the 9th national park of the country called the Southern Four Isles. For those who don't know about this, we have prepared a new series to tell you the importance of this new proposal, its location, and why the Four Isles should be protected. Here's our report.
The Penghu Islands holds one of the most beautiful beaches in the world and used to be Taiwan's most abundant natural fishery.
Penghu sits right on the Tropic of Cancer, so it has fishes that come in from the temperate zone and also from the tropics. From the perspective of biodiversity, the archipelago is truly a treasure vault.
When a tributary of the Kuroshio Current joins up with the warm water mass from the South China Sea, they travel northward through the channel known as the Black Ditch, which passes through the archipelago. The flow of the current sustains and gives birth to abundant ocean wildlife, but due to overfishing, yields continue to diminish in spite of ever-advancing equipment. According to statistics of the Penghu Fishermen's Association, in just 10 years, yields have seen a reduction of 70%.
The sea around Penghu suffers from severe overfishing. The situation actually epitomizes the depletion of fishery resources all around Taiwan.
Actually, all ocean wildlife is at risk due to overfishing. Studies conducted abroad showed that the demand for the world's fish has increased by 60% in the last 40 years, while deep-sea trawling has endangered 236 species and led to the disappearance of highly valued species.
Of all human impacts on the oceans, fishing is probably the most harmful. But rather than provide a solution to overfishing, fish farming is making the problem worse. For every kilo of farm fish, we need to take 4 kilos of fish from the wild to feed the caged.
Though aquaculture may not be the true solution for ocean conservation, there is no turning back for Penghu. Meanwhile, millions of tourists who visit every year continue to burden the local environment, which is without a wastewater management facility. Add the problem of climate change and the local ecology can simply collapse at any time.
After the frost passed, the seafloor was full of dead fish. Do you know how much? At least 3,000 tons.
A sudden drop in temperatures back in 2008 led to fish death en masse covering some 320 kilometers of seashore in the archipelago.
You'd be lucky to spot a small fish in the sea. Even the corals died. What was gonna save Penghu?
The frost completely disrupted the local marine ecology and forced the initialization of Taiwan's largest ever marine investigation. For 3 years, Zheng Mingxiu stayed here to investigate.
As we investigated, we found that surprisingly, the ecology in the islets of Dongyuping, Xiyuping, Dongji, and Xiji were the healthiest. At the time, the term Southern Four Isles wasn't even coined yet. I began to think, how was I going to save Penghu? And my solution was habitat conservation.
Zheng proposes that the Southern Four Isles should be made into the 9th National Park of Taiwan to preserve the area's beauty and also to help restore the fish population of Penghu.
First-year student in National Zhengxin University's Civil Engineering Graduate Department, Huang Zhenjie, almost didn't make it to college. However, with the help of Tzu Chi volunteers, Huang was able to raise the tuition needed to not only finish college, but also take the next step to graduate school.
Whenever first-year graduate student Huang Zhenjie has the time, he will help with things at home.
Washing dishes, cleaning up the house, washing clothes mostly.
With his mother gone and his father sick, Huang and his younger brother live together with their father in the small rented apartment. After graduating with a BA in urban planning, Huang has gone on to study civil engineering at the graduate level. Despite his current academic success, for Huang, high school was almost the end of the line. Thankfully, Tzu Chi was there.
The volunteers would always offer encouragement and say that if I encountered any problems in my studies, I could ask them for help. They have been a great source of support.
When not studying or cleaning up at home, Huang works part-time jobs to help pay for things at home, as well as help with his younger brother's high school tuition.
My brother is really great. He studies hard and also encourages me to do the same.
He is a good son. In the future, he will have much to offer society.
Huang Zhenjie also makes sure to recycle at home. Now, this youth that was so confused in the past has learned to face his problems head-on and not give up on himself.
He has really matured. Now he will actively find ways to overcome the hurdle he faces. He believes that the more one studies, the more opportunities will become available and the easier it will be to leave poverty behind and in turn help others.
There are areas that I still need to improve for sure, but I will continue to show the world and myself that I can improve.
Now, with his future clear, despite the responsibilities on his shoulders, Huang continues to strive not only for a better future, but to be the best person he can be.
As part of the Island One efforts, assembled Tzu Chi's blessing and wisdom red envelopes for the upcoming year-end blessing ceremonies. Volunteers at the Tzu Chi Shuanghe Liaison Office have been hard at work since the beginning of October. As this year's red envelope has a few extra details to pay attention to, those teaching how to make the envelopes are also spending a bit more time in their instruction to make sure everyone gets it right.
How to take these materials and create a beautiful gift is the task that now faces these volunteers.
Don't use so much glue. Fold it down like this so it sticks, and then bring this part over. Don't press it down right away.
Seeing these red envelopes, I can see that the new year approaches as well as the joy of the holidays. For our part, we can create good karmic connections with other bodhisattvas. Seeing these red envelopes makes my heart glad.
Volunteers at New Taipei City's Shanghai Liaison Office have been assembling the Blessing and Wisdom red envelopes since October 9th. Among the 100 or so that gather daily, a 76-year-old Chen Meiyun who works quickly despite her age.
Gluing the rice grains on is almost like flower arrangement. It is like the master said, the more plump the rice, the more it reaches downward.
We have to make a total of 32,000. Over the past 3 days, we have already made 7,000, which will be sent overseas. This is how we are creating good karmic connections with Tzu Chi members around the world, and we all cherish this relationship.
To be a part of this event, some volunteers took time off work, while others took a moment to add a little personal touch to each envelope.
The 3 grains of rice can be arranged into many beautiful shapes.
Just starting, we were afraid that the task would be too much for us, but we stayed with it from the first day until now, and I feel that we have been getting better at it.
The assembly of the Blessing and Wisdom red envelopes is not only an exercise in dexterity and handicrafts, but also a chance for the volunteers to cultivate a more pristine state of mind and better karmic connections with all sentient beings.
At the Tzu Chi Dharma Lineage Seminar in Haiyan, Taiwan, volunteers from Malaysia happily shared some innovative recipe made from using readily available Tzu Chi foods. In the end, not only did all participants strengthen their spiritual discipline, they also learned something very useful that will be beneficial to both their health and the environment.
At the Haiyan Jingsi Hall, meticulously handmade treats are ready to be served. They are all made from Tzu Chi's ready-to-serve foods. By grinding down instant rice, adding some jute powder for coloring and cocoa, and the 5-grain powders for flavoring, the low-sugar and oil mooncake is finished.
The 4 elements are imbalanced, so we hope everyone can control their desires and minimize their carbon footprint. This is a very easy DIY project for all ages.
Malaysian volunteers came up with these recipes as they promoted vegetarianism, which they happily shared with all at the Tzu Chi Dharma Lineage Seminar. The treats received rave reviews.
It's amazing and delicious. I can't believe this is made from instant rice. It's simply superb.
You won't feel burdened after eating this. The cocoa powder is not too sweet and there is a nice scent.
By eating healthy, natural foods, we can also help reduce our carbon footprint and protect the environment.
We go back to Taiwan at the end of the show, where New Taipei City Tzu Chi volunteers invited community members in Yonghe District to practice recycling. Meanwhile, Taipei Tzu Chi volunteers traveled to Xingfu Junior High School to pass on environmental concepts to youngsters. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.